Beacon Hill, represent. Today on the podcast, City of Ottawa Councillor Tim Tierney from the Beacon Hill Searville Ward. I'm in, right now, I'm in a cabin in Algonquin Park, Golden Lake, Red Pine Camp, very cool place. I wanted to get you this podcast with Tim Tierney, guy who's left the private sector to follow his passion of helping others in the community. And, he's taking a big risk. It's paid off. He's having a lot of success. He's going to tell us what keeps him motivated on a daily basis and what his next goals are. And he also tells us a little secret about the City of Ottawa Mayor, Jim Watson. So stand by. Please enjoy Tim Tierney.
You're listening to the Mark Hatfield podcast.
You want to go fight some crime?
I know your name, and I know you play the game.
Black, because we don't have any.
That's the way I drink it.
We'll put these on here. And we should be live. I'll just check to make sure we're going here. And we'll go, and it'll be fun. All right, we are live. So welcome to the podcast. Today we have Tim Tierney, City Councillor for Beacon Hill, Searville Kingdom. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you spending the time.
Hey, and this is first time for me. I've never done this before. My first ever podcast world. So if you're listening, this will be fun.
That's amazing. I can't believe I'm so fortunate to have you here on your very first podcast. And the thing that strikes me, it's interesting about your occupation as a city councillor is how busy you are. So what's your day like today? I'm just going to pour you a coffee here, and we'll talk about what you have on the agenda for a day, like an average day for a city councillor.
Well, let me tell you, coffee is what powers the Tierney. This is what keeps me going all day long. But you know what? We have it's a busy schedule, obviously, sometimes of the year a little crazier than others. But, for example, I have a couple meetings at City Hall with staff. I got to fight for the people of Beacon Hill, Searville. And then I have a couple of meetings with some organizers for an upcoming fundraiser. As you know, we had a park structure that burnt down in our
Lafar Elementary School, which I went to.
Hey, alumni, there you go.
Yeah, I was there the first year it was built.
So that structure is gone, and we want to give them a nice new one. So we have a fundraiser coming up, so I have a bit of a meeting around that. And then tonight I'm going to check out our Champions baseball game. We got the All-Star game in town today, so a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and a little bit of fun.
That's awesome. I do have a question about Lafar, and I've been thinking about it. I went to school there for whatever, I guess it was 1975, my first year I went there. It's called Lafar. And that's
Lafar Smellementary, the kids like to call it.
Smellementary. It had a different smell when I went there. It was brand new smell. But it's about a lighthouse, right?
Yeah.
So was there ever a lighthouse? I know it's Beacon Hill.
That's right. So there's actually an artist, a famous artist in Ottawa. He's a young pup. He's younger than you and I both. Andrew King, very talented artist here in Ottawa. There's a blog. You can find it in my website. I'll make sure I get the link up there. I'll send it to you too, Mark, where he's documented the history of Beacon Hill and where the lighthouse is. There's actually still the base of the lighthouse just down here right beside us at the river.
That's unbelievable.
It's really cool.
I need to find that because I walk back there all the time with my dogs, and I find lots of crazy things, and I don't know what they are. I found a set of stairs down here one time that look super old, like cement stairs that lead down to the Ottawa River. And I'm thinking, excuse me, because where we are right now is in Beacon Hill, and so it used to be called, well, the street's called Briar Cliff, and right over there, like 100 meters that way, there's a house, and it used to be owned by a guy, Edward Kindle.
Oh, yes.
Okay, and Edward Kindle called this area Briar Cliff, and that was his house.
That's right.
And he was a geologist, and I'll show you afterwards, but the Briar Cliff, like this, our house is built on a rock here, okay, a cliff. That's awesome. So right over here outside, there's a giant engraving about 6 inches big, EK. So I'm assuming it's Edward Kindle, and then the year he has is 1918. It's right out there.
That's amazing.
It's crazy. Yeah.
I assume that's where Kindle Court comes from as well.
Kindle Court, right up the top of the hill. Yeah.
Very cool.
So like when you learn all these crazy things, like that's 100 years ago.
We have so much history here.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Who knew, right? Like it's crazy. I mean, they're unearthing 14,000-year-old civilizations in BC, and here we have something that's almost 100 years old in Beacon Hill, where there used to be a beacon. And I can't imagine like why there was a a lighthouse here.
It's actually so cool. I can't wait. I'm going to tweet it out later on today just as a follow-up to the podcast whenever this is published. It is so cool. You can actually still see the base of the lighthouse. It's still in the river. It's really cool.
It's in the river.
It is in the river.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to check
maybe
out
that should be our next pet project. Rebuild the Beacon Hill
Rebuild it.
Lighthouse.
I think that's an amazing thing. And you talk about pet projects in this area, and in the past 10 years, I mean, there's a Sensplex here, right? Like a huge skating rink. What, 4 or 5 pads there?
4 pads, yeah.
4 pads in Beacon Hill.
Restaurants, employs 80 kids in the neighborhood. We've been working really, really hard. I've been a counselor for 7 years, and I promised and delivered on a new rink. Got that done. The Sens are a great contributor. We got a dog park. Lots of road resurfacing going on. Need some more. We always need more.
Yeah.
But obviously, cycling lanes. We have some of those going in now too. So we've accomplished a lot over 7 years, and we're going to keep pushing on the gas and get more.
Yeah, and you said you're going to a baseball game at the Champions. Is that in your kingdom?
It's just outside.
Just
outside the border, but President Dave Gorley does a great job of running that, and I promised. Funny story about this. I actually voted against the baseball, baseball coming back to Ottawa initially. Because I had concerns on finances. That's my fiscally conservative hat on. So the funny story was 2 years ago, Dave said, look, I know you voted against it. Come on out and pitch the first baseball of the year. So I went out to pitch the baseball. And before I did that, I grabbed the microphone out of his hand and I said, everybody, I voted against this. And they all booed me. But I said, clearly, you've proved me wrong. Baseball's here to stay. And they all cheered. And I threw the ball and it barely trickled over the plate. So, there's always a good story at the end of the day. I was happy to see I was wrong on that. I'm rarely ever wrong, people. But that was the one I was wrong on.
I love the politician grabbing the microphone. I mean, that's sort of what happens. And okay, so you're a city councillor.
Yeah.
Nobody grows up wanting to be a city councillor.
Nobody.
There's bigger dreams than that, and there's a path that got you there. So you're from Ottawa?
Yep, from Ottawa. I grew up in Constance Bay. And my wife drug me out. Is drug a word? Dragged me.
Means something
out.
different than you're using it in, but that's fine.
But she dragged me out about, I guess it's like almost 25 years ago now to the East End, and we have lived on the same street as her parents ever since.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of different.
That's crazy.
But always born and bred in Ottawa, and it's funny you talk about that. I go to local schools. I bring all the grade 5 classes from the entire district down to City Hall. It's their City Hall. I stuff them full of pizza. That's the part they really like. But I teach them a little bit about civic politics and what it goes into it because, you're right. I got into this not because I ever planned on it. I had a great career in the federal government for a Crown Corporation making way more money, but it's not about the money. It was about when they went to go close Colonel By High School, we rallied as a community, got together. When they wanted to cancel a bus route, Route 24, as community association president at the time, we fought it and we won. And when Hydro had that big transformer malfunction and there was a fire, well, we threatened to sue them and we won at the end of the day and they paid everybody out. So after that, I got a lot of pressure from the community saying, you should run. And that's kind of people like you actually too are kind of pushing me along. And at the end of the day, it was the right decision, and we're getting a lot of stuff done.
Yeah, I mean, clearly. And I live in your what's it called? It's not a kingdom.
It's a ward.
It's a ward.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
And another question off topic is the mayor gets to wear that necklace full of jewels and precious things. Do you have one of those, or is that?
I don't. Can you make me one of those?
Yeah,
that would
we
be
can do that.
handy,
We can get you a crown.
Yeah, that'd be great.
For sure. So Constance Bay.
Yeah.
Brothers, sisters.
I have a brother. He's 2 years younger. Mm-hmm. He's doing his own thing, and he's still somewhere in the city hanging out. My mom's still out in Constance Bay. She's hanging out there. My dad passed away a few years ago, but she's enjoying Constance Bay and the great life out there.
Yeah. Was she affected by the flooding out there?
No, the funny part is growing up in the Bay, we used to literally have to take a rowboat to get to the bus sometimes because we always had floods.
Yeah.
They raised the roadway, and the area where she lives, it's raised high enough, not affected. All cool.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And so, Tim Tierney, political science in school or good coffee? You like the coffee?
This is amazing coffee. This is high test, I think.
Right? I make it. I think they say 4 scoops. I put 8, and it's Bridgehead, which is my favorite. Not only coffee but air freshener.
Oh, I love it.
Isn't it the best? It smells the best.
I'm going to smell great today.
Yeah.
But no school. I 3 years business administration information system. So IT, big IT.
Okay.
And It was great. 15 years. I always joke. I was software and enterprise solutions, and now I'm potholes and light bulbs. But it's all cool. And I love just look. I tell you, when I went to run, and I'm going to tell you a story. This is a true story. When I went to run back in 2010, I met with a couple of people in the community, Dan Cummings and different people. We were chatting away, and I was spitballing the idea. And before I registered, the registration started in January 2010. I went to my employer and I said, hey, I'm going to run municipally. Just FYI, don't worry, I'm not going to use any company time. Well, as a Crown corporation, they didn't have the same view as a federal corporation. So they went, we're not really sure about this. We're going to have to take it under legal advisement. And they were kind of ragging the puck. They were taking a long time. And they said, you can take off from January until October, leave without pay, and no problem. And I went, whoa. I can't do that. And we had to get a local lawyer involved, a good friend of mine in the neighborhood. And we fought, and they said, okay, just take 2 months off. 2 months, and during the election period, during the sign period. So at that time, it was difficult for me because I had a great career in the government. I was moving up. Things were going great. But they'd made it very clear I couldn't do it at the same time. So I said, no problem. So basically, my wife and I made this, we came together as a team and we said, we're just going to do it. We knew we'd rack up debt doing it. So 2 months went really, really hard. And I think we all know what happened in 2010. Last poll in, I pulled off the victory. It was a big, big victory. The funny part is, a couple weeks after, I was getting phone calls from people at my previous federal Crown corporation saying, hey, you coming back? You got some employees lying around here that need some work. I said, oh, no. You made it very clear. I couldn't come back unless, if I won, I was automatically terminated. That was the agreement. Yeah. The short story is we negotiated a small period of time where I went back for a certain amount of money, and I recouped the money I lost over a 2-month period. But it was basically going all in to make that decision to say, I want this that bad. It was a huge, huge deal at the time.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It was difficult, but we made it work.
On the podcast last week, we had rock star comedian Derek Sagang. I don't know if
he is awesome. This dude is hilarious.
So good.
Oh yeah.
And he's the same sort of thing, right? He had a job, marketing job, and he was not happy. He said it was killing him. He's starting to take prescription drugs, and he said, "Listen, I got to do this full time. This comedy. I think I can do it." And he took the leap of faith too, and it worked out for him, right? And he's now happy where he's at and everything. That seems to be the same sort of thing for you. I mean, it looks like, it doesn't seem like you were in a bad place before, but there was probably something else that was itching, and you wanted to see if you could do it. Is it something that that you did because you lived in this neighborhood, right?
Oh yeah.
So you were living here,
yeah,
and you saw. Because there wasn't an opening, you know what I mean? I often see guys who jump in where there's an opening. I think, like you said, it went down to the last ballot, pretty much.
Literally the last poll. They had to hand count it because there was a problem with it. And I was trailing the entire night long and won. But yeah, you're right. I was tired of sitting in an office. I felt I was doing more in the community, being out doing things, like I said, before I was elected. And I felt... A lot of people run in openings. You're correct. They'll find a spot. It's open. They'll just kind of run for it and think, I'll take advantage of it because there's no incumbent. Let's face it. It's very difficult to beat an incumbent. But I created a strong case. The community supported me. The first round I got through with the skin of my teeth. But in 2014, the highest ever in Beacon Hill, Searville, 83%. And I toot our horn as a community on that because I've gotten a lot of support from the community, like a tremendous amount, and I hope it continues. You
got 83% of the vote the second time around?
Yeah, in 2014, that's correct. Yeah.
Did you ever get 83% in anything ever before? I was like, wow, that's impressive. Yeah. I think you found your thing, right?
It was great, and again, I'd love to repeat that one day, but I just keep working hard and doing the same thing, and we'll see what the voters say.
It seems like 83% means you're very successful at this, right? It can't just be the bow ties and the fancy shirts.
My wife dresses me, by the way. I'm going to point that out.
We need to talk about your wife because
she got me all the vote. Yeah,
she's 100%. Awesome. She's like you said, dragged you out to the East End. She's from the East End?
Oh yeah. She actually was born in Mississauga, and but moved to Ottawa when she was like very young. and has always lived on the same street, Hamlin Crescent. It's where I live as well. So
Yeah.
if you have complaints, you know what door to find. You can guess. There's about 12 houses on the street. You can find me. But my in-laws live on one side of the crescent. We live on the other. And
Wow.
she is awesome. She created this thing called Thread and Tie, and this has just started in the last few months about making bow ties. And she thought, you know what, that's kind of look you should go with. And I was like, you know, I was never pretty enough to be a model when I was younger, but since you're making bow ties, I guess I'll have to do it. And,
Dude, the
it's
look
worked
is
out since.
great.
Yeah, it's fun.
I love it. I was
We'll
hoping
have
you were
to
wearing
get
your
you
bow
a good
tie.
bow tie.
Yeah, I don't know if I could pull it off like you, but when I see you on your social media with the bow tie, I'm like, that's the guy, man. That's the guy I'm voting for. I don't care what about the potholes in the street, man.
Oh, God.
If that guy shows up. So, I mean, you get invited to a lot of things, and you probably think you're an important dude, but it's because your wife, Jenny, is coming with you, right? Like, you know, people are inviting you to get her there. Maybe a truth in that, I don't know.
There's a lot of truth.
But she's there all the time.
Yeah,
Right? And
all the
that's
time.
unique. I don't see any other city councilors with that sort of relationship.
You raise a good point, and you have to do it as a team in my mind. It's the only way to be able to pull it off. There are a couple of other counselors that their spouses will come out on occasion, but Jenny's pretty there, I would say 80-90% of the time, and it's because we've made this commitment together. Even in my family, my children, which are getting older now, one just finished university.
Wow,
the other
two
one,
kids?
three kids.
3 kids, okay.
So I got Crystal, Keely, and Liam, and Crystal and Keely doing great. One finished university. Crystal's finished that neuroscience. Very smart kid.
What?
Don't know where she gets that from. No clue. And obviously her mom. And then Keely, she's criminology, doing very well as well, going third year Carleton. And then Liam, my baby, he's just going into grade 12 at Colonel By. Yeah. But we all work together, so no one would be surprised to see me doing. You know, this is funny. We're talking about this, Mark. I do about, I would say, 17 to 21 different events during a 2-month period with school year ends and barbecues and ice cream bars and things like that. Getting out and talking to the community, you'll find my family out with me on many occasions because we make it a team effort.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
It's the only way to make it work.
Yeah, I mean, you like you say, you're at events all the time, and I've seen you there, and then you're like, hey, my daughter, hey, and then that's how I met Jenny, obviously, and that seems to make it work instead of coming home and them going, where have you been? You know what I mean? That's sort of the secret. When I look at you, that's what I look at. He's got this team behind him, right? And it's a family team, right? And it makes it appealing to everybody, right? And I mean, it's hard to say when you look at a counselor, and I think we're very fortunate to live in this city.
Oh, we are.
I think, I mean, I've lived playing football in lots of different cities and countries, and just Ottawa. I mean, just for anything, you have a problem, you pick up the phone, and you're the one coming to check it out with your bow tie. You know what I mean? I can tell you, when I first moved here, and it was 2011, and I remember watching the video of you. What's the restaurant you were at down here?
Camellios.
Camellios. I remember watching the video of you, like, and the shock on your face when you'd won and your whole life was about to change, right?
Yeah.
You weren't going back, and it was an amazing moment. And then my son was catching the bus out here on Blair Road, which is a treacherous hill,
Horrible.
Yeah, and I was terrified, and I said, well, it was my youngest or my oldest son or my oldest child, so obviously concerned about everything. And I picked up the phone, I called, and you answered, and then there's a speed radar thing out there, and then the bus stop was moved. I mean, like, things were happening. I have no idea where I was going with this point. Just that, like, city councilors, they're the politicians that really make things happen.
Yeah.
Right. So now you've got this taste of politics, and obviously you're comfortable here.
Yeah, I love it.
But I mean, like I say, nobody dreams of being a city councilor as a child. Was there dreams for you of politics when you were a kid? You're heading in some sort of a direction?
Well, it's funny because when I first started out, it was all about making money, right? I wanted to make money. And that's a good thing. And I started my family pretty young. I had an IROC set. I blame the car for why my family started so young. But at the same time, as you get a little older, you're like, how important is money? Money is very important, but I like the community aspect of things. And just as time went on, I thought, this is a good opportunity for me. I'm going to make the leap of faith. We did it, and I can't see myself going back because I enjoy working for the community. It's great.
Is there aspirations of like being the mayor or provincial politics?
Well, it's funny. I was asked several times because we've had provincial and federal. Both seats became vacant. One, unfortunately, with the passing of Moreau Boulanger, which was a friend of mine, and as well as Madeleine Mayer retiring at the provincial level. I was asked several times, and I was very flattered. But I just feel I like doing the city and municipal stuff at this point. I also have my fingers in a couple other, or pokers and fires. I shouldn't say fingers and fires. That's crazy talk. But I'm also a board member on the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, which is 2,000 member municipalities across the entire country. I was elected on the Ontario caucus chair. So next year I'm going to be working towards looking at doing a little more with FCM. So I've still got a few years, and in 2018 I will be running again. But looking forward to 2022, I'll have to take time to think about what my family and my community think.
Yeah. So it's you're city councilor for 4 years.
That's correct. It's 4-year terms.
So you've done it twice. I mean, guys do it for a long, or people do it for a long time, right? There's guys.
And it's funny because a lot of them that do it for a long time, if they're able to keep the energy up, that's one thing. But a lot of them have difficulty keeping that. I'm very hands-on. You called me out on that. It's so true. I personally like going and dealing with a lot of stuff. My staff hate it. They lose their mind because I'm like, get their address. I'm going to go to their house and I'm just going to speak to them myself.
Yeah, that works.
Well, it totally works because I get frustrated constituents all the time that email me about, it doesn't matter, it could be anything. And they'll send things that they would never say to their mother in the email. Keyboard warriors, I call them. But I get it. They're frustrated. So usually what I do, Mark, and if you ever send me an email like this, I might be at your door. I'll print it out in 32-point font, and I'll go to your door within 5 minutes of getting the email. I'll just say, hey, I just want to review this email with you real quickly. And usually 9 times out of 10, they're going, yeah. And I'm
That's
like,
awesome.
I totally get it. I just want to explain why this is, or maybe we didn't know about it and we can address it. And I love that. That's the best part of the job.
How you said staff? How many staff members does a city councilor have?
Well, we do get a budget of about $240,000 a year, but that's got to cover a lot of things. That's not just staff. That's got to be like. When you walk in, Mark, it's an empty room with a desk. You've got to get your computers. You got to get your staff. You got to plan your mailouts. Mailouts are not cheap. The physical mailouts are very expensive.
I read them, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
I do.
Thank you.
And the emails. So
I'm gonna have to put you in the next one because of that now. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So that being said,
Take some pictures.
it's a lot of work to be able to make sure that you stay under that cap, but it usually gives you about three employees, maybe a contractor on the side too. But I'm representing almost 40,000 people, so.
Oh, is that right? 40,000. Is it divided up by number of like population or area?
Every few years, it's not just population. It's also about the needs of the neighborhood. So, for example, the rural areas, some of the areas only have just over 20,000. So it's very different. There's got to be a representational balance, they call it. And the province every so many years will go, okay, great, let's look at it. And out of 23 councillors, 23 divisions in the city, I anticipate they'll probably add 2 more on next round. Look, Toronto, they're going from 44 to 49 wards. That's a lot. That's a lot of representation.
So how many are there in Ottawa?
23.
23.
Now, keep in mind, you can fit, and the mayor loves saying this, you can fit Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, Montreal, and Toronto, all in the confines of the city of Ottawa. We're 2,500 square kilometers. We're massive.
Yeah.
So that means more roads and pipes, and you need the people.
And transitway and all that. It makes it super important, right?
Super important.
What's your transit something?
All the committees and commissions I'm on, So I'm actually on transit commission. Yeah. So we deal with the busing, and that's real, important to me. I take the bus still 2-3 times a week if I can get on it.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, no.
You take the bus 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah.
From your house to where?
Yeah, I walk over to the 95 stop because it's more frequent, and I usually go in early and down to City Hall. And if it works, some days like today, I'm driving. Oh my God, horrible! I'm taking a car, but that's life. Sometimes.
When you're on the bus, you get on the bus with your bow tie and your briefcase.
Well, those are the days. Actually, it's actually council days where the temperature, if it's scorching out, I'm like, I got to use air conditioning because I'm just going to be a wet mess if I get to City Hall. But I try to find the opportunity to hop on the bus.
And are people talking to you the whole time, taking pictures with you, or how does that work?
Pictures, no, but talking, yes.
Yeah.
No. Usually, it's funny if I catch Route 24, which I don't take as frequent anymore, which goes right by my house. I have great conversations with people, but just time wise, I got to get in super early. I barely sleep, by the way. I'm like a 5-hour sleeper a night kind of guy.
That's perfect.
Maybe that's a max.
That's like you live in two lives, right?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So I like to get on the bus nice and early, avoid the bottlenecks, get some phone calls and stuff answered. But no transit commission. I'm on police board. I'm on. God, why am I drawing a blank? Oh, I'm chair of the public library. Oh, I forgot about that. That's a good one. That's a big one.
Do we still need libraries? Is that a thing?
They are. They really are.
Purpose changed.
It's funny. They've changed totally because it's not about books anymore. The Dewey Decimal System. It's about 3D printing. It's about maker spaces. It's about human libraries. Did you participate in one?
Yeah, I did the Human Library about a year ago.
That's right. That's right.
Cool.
And we did one at the local school, and that was that's the kind of stuff people want. So it's more of a community hub, but we call them libraries.
Is there a 3D printer in this ward?
There's not. There's only one in the entire city right now. It's at Ben Franklin Place. Rick Shirelli's the counselor for that area, so he gets that benefit.
Yeah.
But as part of the new central library, which is we're still moving ahead on. That will be a major requirement, is that aspect. We heard that time and again that these are very popular, these 3D printers.
What do you print on them? I've never seen
it's
them.
cool. You can do. We have a lot of university and college students coming in. If they're doing prototypes of a car, they can design their car and then 3D print it, like a miniature version of it, or it could be parts for some kind of mechanical assembly. It could just be some fun stuff. We have people making jewelry, but it's all about learning and. People that want to get onto the 3D printer have to take a quick little course through the library we offered about the software. And by the end of it, you're an expert. You get to hop on there and you've learned a new trade.
What I don't get is where does it get the material to make the things? You just pour in like some magic fluid and it just makes anything?
It's really neat. It's this fiber. I forget what they call it. There's a special name for it, but it feeds in. They have different multicolored strings that go into it, and it just basically melts it and recreates it.
Wow.
It's pretty impressive.
Why don't you get the 3D printer at Ben Franklin Place to print out some more 3D printers, and then you can just put them all across the city?
Oh my God! Why did we not think of that?
That's why we're doing this. That's the purpose of this whole podcast. Is that sort of thing.
I do want to point one thing out, though. We have way too many celebrities here in Beacon Hill, Searville area. I'm telling you, were just hanging out. Look, Mark, if you don't know this, Mark is a major local celebrity.
Huge.
And hanging out with Tom Green.
Yeah,
Tom Green
I opened for him. It was a great night. I loved it. He was on the podcast.
Yeah. So this is really cool. And we just heard about this young lady that is now, she's starring in something. What was it? I just saw it in the news yesterday. Right from Colonel By High School as well. We've had, obviously, Tom Cruise roll through there.
Unbelievable. What's the story with Tom Cruise? Everyone has different versions of the story. My sister went to Robert Hopkins and Henry Monroe, and so did my brother. But my sister at the same time as Tom Cruise, different class. So they're the same age. But now I get stories coming out of Robert Hopkins that he went to that school too. From my kids who also go, I have one that goes to Robert Hopkins, Henry Monroe, and Colonel By. So I got the whole thing covered. But so how long did Tom Cruise live in this area? Do you know that stuff?
So it's funny because, funny story, I actually had a copy of the yearbook from Henry Monroe.
Okay.
And I got a copy of it, and he was there, and the photos were from 71. He actually came to Ottawa just after 69. So summer of 69. Anyway, he actually, I guess he must have started thinking about it in the 70s. But he definitely went to Monroe in 71. I know that for a fact.
This is Tom Cruise?
Sorry. Are we talking?
Yeah, you're Brian Adams. You're
I am
about
confusing with Brian Adams.
That's
you know
crazy.
what? I totally mind cramp. More coffee, please.
Yeah. Kombucha right there.
I totally confused the two. I was on the Brian Adams train. Forgive me.
Yeah.
Now, where do I go from here, Mark? I'm messed up.
It's okay. We can talk about Tom. We were talking about how Tom Cruise. What's his story in this area?
Yeah. I just know he went to. He did go to the 3. That's the story I heard. But I don't know a lot of details on Tom. And
it is crazy.
It'd be great if he came
like
back.
You say, there's Tom Cruise, Brian Adams.
So many Toms. That's the problem.
Tom Cruise.
Tom Green.
Yeah, that is interesting.
But back to Brian Adams.
Yeah.
So funny story on that. So thank God you picked up. I was talking about. He's like, is Tim drunk? What's he doing? He's talking about Brian
drunk.
Adams.
He's
here.
a politician.
Yeah. I'll remind you, it's still early in the morning, so that is not the case. But Brian Adams, really cool, goes to Monroe. and then did a bit of a stint at Colonel By, and that's kind of another piece of history right there too.
That is crazy. And Horst Buelow, do you know who that is?
I have no clue.
It's a Canadian Olympic ski jumper. I think he went to that.
No
Colonel By
way.
too. Yeah, for sure. He could have gone to Gloucester. I'm not sure. I went to Gloucester.
And we have some other Olympians coming down. I love the fact we're looking at the Winter Olympic torch while we're sitting here, while we're saying this. Isabella Weidman. She's from the community. She's my daughter's age, a good friend of my daughter. And watch out, world. She's going to be a long track speed skater in the upcoming Olympics. She's won lots of medals, and she's a local celebrity. She actually her parents used to live just literally up the road, like right around the corner. So
really,
yeah.
I love that short track. Is that what you said?
Long track.
I love that speed skating. I wanted to get my kids into it, but at the time there was nowhere to do it. There was no Sensplex here. Yeah, that's an Olympic torch I carried in 2010 on the Sunshine Coast in Vancouver. It was an award for my speaking in schools,
which you do a tremendous job.
Do a lot of. Yes.
It's crazy.
Oh, thank you.
So let's get this. Now I'm interviewing you.
I like this.
So we know the great work you do with the City of Ottawa and Fire Services. I think everyone knows that through your podcast.
Yeah.
Football player for 2 NFL teams or 3?
Yeah, Miami Dolphins, Houston Oilers, and I played for the BC Lions
and for the
3
Lions.
years.
Yeah. And then motivational speaker, getting out to the schools.
Lots of schools. 800. I've done 800 school speeches since I started 10 years ago.
You deserve some kind of award from the city. I'm just pointing that out. And then comedian.
Yeah.
You can't settle down, right?
I love it.
Don't tell me city councilor because I'll be nervous at this point.
Yeah,
you're always
hilarious.
successful. This is the problem.
Yeah. You know what? It's funny you should mention that, and it's the same thing that sort of motivated you. Is it's passion. You follow your passion, right? It's what makes you happy. And I mean, this podcast, getting to meet guys like you or people like you for an hour at a time and have conversations that I'd never really have. I just follow what I love doing, and that's just leads me to the happy places, right? Like motivational speaking or football. My crazy story led to motivational speaking, awesome. and then motivational speaking led to comedy. Comedy led to this, and I just do what makes me happy. And I've been very lucky to be surrounded by people who help me out. And what I tell young people is when you follow something that you're passionate about and you tell people about it, then the world helps you, right? Like everything starts moving in that direction of you taking you to where you want to go. And it's why I try to encourage kids. Just find something that you love doing. Upstairs right now, I guarantee you my 12-year-old son is playing the guitar. Awesome. Right? He's playing it quietly because he knows we're down here. He plays it 24 hours a day, and that's what I support him doing, right? I think, and I want my children and everyone I go out and talk to is to find that thing. I don't care what it is. I don't care if people make money doing it, because I guarantee you if it's something you're passionate about and you love doing and you wake up in the morning to do, some way you're going to make money around it, right? It's going to follow you. And if you don't, whatever, that's going to take you to your happy place. And like you said earlier, you don't even need, I mean, you need a certain amount of money to get by, but you know, we don't need to be Justin Bieber. We don't need to have $1 million a show, right? We just need to find that happy place and to follow our passion. And that seems to be what being the city councilor is for you, right? And then I don't know, excuse me, if it's you taking a leap of faith like you did and then finding this thing that just excites you, right? Or if it's like I see you doing more. Not that this isn't a lot, but I see how involved and energetic, and when I see you at events, I see this glow, this energy, maybe perhaps, you know, that you're happy, and it's a great thing, and and it's exciting to be around, and that's another thing, right? When people are happy and people are passionate about something, other people want to be around them.
Right, and it's great, and you know, the support from people like you. Like I remember you, full disclosure, my 2014 campaign kickoff. You popped by that.
Yeah.
That meant a lot, right?
Yeah.
I thought, oh my God, Mark Hatfield is here at my kickoff.
He's lying.
This is awesome.
That's not true. But I was there, and I did make point of it because, like I said, that thing with the cars going really fast I said that's the kind of guy I'm supporting, right? I took my kids. My kids loved being there, and it was great. And it's what is attractive about municipal politics is that the politician is someone who you can go and talk to.
Closest to the people.
Yeah.
Closest to
it's real. It's a real form of politics. So you have no training, like formal training in politics?
Zero.
Let's go back to that then, okay? You've got this thing that you want to achieve sort of arises out of need, and then you win it. And then, okay, all the signs are taken down, and now you've got this, like you said, empty room.
It was scary at first.
Yeah. How do you handle that? What do you do?
Well, it's funny because you know the elections take place in October, and then December 1st, you're literally walking into this. You have no lists, by the way. I'm going to point this out. When a counselor is finished, they shred the lists. Everything's gone. This is a privacy issue, apparently. They can't transfer. So you have nothing. You have no email addresses for your constituents. You have zip.
It's unbelievable.
So you have to start with a good team. You get in there, and you just, there's a few different levels. There's the first side of it where you have to be able to make sure you get out there. People know who you are. They have to learn who you are. I tell you, back in 2010-11, when I first got in, I could walk through the grocery store no problem. It's more of a challenge these days. It takes a couple hours. My wife smiles and goes,
I was wondering about that.
Just wait in the car because I'm not going to hang out for this.
Yeah.
But I love that. That's my favorite part, right? If people recognize you, you're doing your job. And trust me, when they recognize you, they're not coming up to say, "Oh, great job." I do get that, by the way. I'm not going to say I don't.
But you got to be careful what you're buying at the store because everyone's looking in your cart.
Well, there's like, yeah. Do you need that extra thing of Twizzlers, Tierney? All right, that's fine. But a lot of it is, hey, I have this problem on my street. No problem. And I love taking time. And I was never a real chatty Kathy before. Now I can't shut up, and this is part of my problem. I enjoy getting out and just working with people. I really do.
Which is most of the job, it seems to be.
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not communicating with people, and some counselors operate different, they're a little more difficult to find, and they're not out there. But this is a privilege being in this position. So I'm going to make sure that I go to the max at every event that I'm invited to. And I always have a rule, too, that ward first. So if there's something happening in the ward, and this is taught to me by former Innis counselor Rainer Blois, a good friend of mine, you have something in the ward, you stay in the ward. You don't go to this gala thing downtown if there's something that coincides the same night. And I've always felt that's true too. So done a lot of other work too. It's not just about potholes and light bulbs. You have to lend your name to a lot of different things. So cracking up the Capitol, or for mental health. I'm doing another mental health thing to raise money for this house that helps children that have mental health issues or suicidal thoughts. You have to get out there and do your level of giving back to the community as well. Or a play structure we're going to have. And breaking news. Do you have a thing for that? Breaking news?
Yeah, that's it.
So August 9th, here in the community, we're going to go to Colonel By High School. And we're Eastside Mario's, Mo, a constituent of the area, has offered up all the pasta and everything that goes along with it. It's going to be $10 for adults, $5 for children, and free for kids under 3. To come on out and raise some money for this play structure. Yeah. Again,
they're expensive, right? Those play structures?
$60,000. Yeah, they're not cheap. And that's not like a super fancy Wonderland kind of Leviathan thing. This is just like a basic play structure, but the new provincial rules, not municipal, I'm pointing that out, make these structures have to meet a certain standard, and the new ones don't burn. So that's always a bonus.
Oh, so the one that burned was an old one?
I
was wondering about that because it looked like to me in the pictures it burned to the ground.
There was nothing. There was literally nothing.
There must have been an accelerant involved.
Yeah, that's right. There was an accelerant. What kind of morons? When they first caught me on camera, I said, "What kind of moron burns down a play structure?"
And you know what? I thought maybe not. I thought that's a guy who's passionate about it, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's not afraid to hold punches. And I thought more of you for actually showing, emotion in that situation. I don't know if you got any,
Oh no, I got a lot. No, it was actually good, and I think people realized that it was fresh at the time. And usually I try to conduct myself most of the time relatively professional. But not that situation. I shake my head and go, who does this?
Yeah.
This doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
But the great news is the community is rallying very hard right now, and we'll see if we can raise the money before September so they can start the planning process of a new play structure.
Yeah. It's too bad. Often something like that is an issue with whoever's doing it has some sort of a bigger issue, right? It's unfortunately that's the case, and for them to do like $60,000 damage to show that they have a problem is unfortunate, for sure. And you mentioned in Rainer Blois. That's an interesting name. Yeah. But and you turned to him. So is that something that I mean, because I'm putting myself in your spot, 2010. Like, okay, great. How does this? Like, what do I do? And you turn to other people, because I often speak to kids about, like, when you're trying to do something, don't try and do it alone, right? Well, find the people who have been successful at it and get a mentor. Find someone. Is that something that, I mean, I think that's...
You could actually write a book on some of the craziness that happened prior to 2010. I was the president of the community association. I revived it just to fight to keep Colonel By open and fight hydro and do the bus thing and all that sort of stuff. But one other issue that was very prominent in the neighborhood was the interprovincial crossing situation. So we had an MP at the time that thought, oh, we should put it up Shefford Road or a Blair Road, or there was a whole bunch of where should it go. And the NCC was taking control of the project, and they were doing the evaluations. So when I was meeting with people, I also met with Rainer Blois and Bob Manette and became fast friends with those guys because we were very much aligned on many issues. And from that point forward, Rainer and I were thick as thieves. We were great friends, and he gave me some great advice. I still chat with him quite a bit. I'll probably see him this week sometime, but
he's not working in politics anymore, right?
He's out. He's out. He's traveling the world. Yeah. He's been on several tours around the world, but a really good mentor and friend, and I can't thank him enough for that.
Yeah. So is that part of the learning the job, is to reach out to other people, I guess, and then do you do the same to others?
Yeah, it's so funny you say that. In 2014, with the high numbers that I had, I was asked by our city clerk's office, we do this thing called Counselor College. It's literally 1 week where all of the newbie counselors, I think there was 7 this round, sit in a room and we tell them the truth about things. What to do, what not to do. Don't get yourself into hot water here. This is what you should use to maintain, because literally you have nothing. You have to make your decisions if you're going to track your constituents on an Excel spreadsheet, or if you're going to use a system like I use that manages people, where I can actually pull up records all the time, and like how do you build your email list, like all those kind of things. So I actually got to be the mentor in 2014. I got to be honest with people, and I kept saying to people, I made a commitment in 2010 to make sure I had strong communications. So 3-4 times a year, I send out a physical newsletter. Yeah. Do I have to budget that? Is it pricey? Sure. But if you're not informing your community, you're not doing a good job. Some of them have listened to me on that, and I think they're doing a really good job. And some have made their own decisions on how they want to operate. Every ward is not exactly the same. I think some take stronger lessons from others, but I think we're doing a good job here in Beacon Hill, Sayreville.
What are the obstacles that you face on a daily? What are the biggest struggles that you have to sort of overcome as a city councillor? And this can date back to 2010 or.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's more about the bureaucracy. There's frontline staff are absolutely amazing in the city of Ottawa. A lot of people that I speak to all the time are like, yeah, I called 311. They were great. Again, that's another, I want to point this out to your nation, that when you call 311, my office does not get a copy of that information. So if you want follow-up, or if you want us to work on it on your behalf, always contact us directly at our office.
Through your phone number, email? How's that?
Yeah, the phone number is 613-580-2481, or you can just email me direct at tim.tierney@ottawa.ca. Also, timtierneyottawa.ca is our website, and on Twitter at Tim Tierney. Thanks for the plug. So that being said, I hear great stuff on the frontline staff, but when it comes to the upper levels, it's about building those relationships with the other counselors, because at the end of the day, I can get out and be angry about whatever I want, but if I'm really cheesing off, for a better use of the word, to keep this family friendly, other counselors, they're not going to support you at budget time. So when it comes to the crunch, why have I been so successful on getting so many infrastructure projects, road resurfacings, dog parks, all this sort of stuff? It's because I don't go out and I start bad-mouthing other councillors or creating friction, because I need, there's 24 people when you include the mayor around the table. You got to get a lot of those votes to be able to make things work. And I think that's a key part of being a councillor.
Well, you need a majority to pass something?
Well, if you when you go in, you also have to have realistic expectations. Some councillors will go in, I want the Taj Mahal built in this area, and I want this, and I go in with real expectations that I've evaluated in the community. So whether it's in Pineview, where they wanted 3 or 4 roads specifically resurfaced, or they want a community room, which I'm fighting for, and we're so close. Oddly enough, we'll get into it offline, not on the microphone. But I think that we're going to deliver on something out there too for Pineview, a community room I'm very excited about. Or here in Beacon Hill, it was a dog park. People wanted that dog park, or they wanted the Sensplex. I go in with realistic expectations, and I present it, and I say, I'm not coming in with 50 items. I'm coming in with 5 this year and 5 next year. And I just keep checking the boxes and moving along. And so when they feed into the bureaucratic machine that funnels it down, and the mayor's office looks at the lists and things kind of move along, I always get onto that list because I've created these relationships. I'm realistic in my expectations, and I'm just trying to accomplish what we need in the community.
You mentioned the Pineview Golf Course, and every time I drive by it, I have a special feeling for it because it's where I first, and it was a big moment in my life because up until 2009, I was invited to by a STEAM team. It's an organization I started speaking for. It's Olympic athletes, professional athletes that go to schools right across Canada and deliver a message of goal setting, overcoming obstacles, and that sort of thing. And I'd always wanted to go to schools and share my story. And I didn't even really know what my story was. And I was invited to go to the Pineview Golf Course. Nice. And they just rented a room there. It's the first time I'd ever been there. And I went in there, and it was a big room full of Olympic athletes, Milt Dottie, like people I'd heard of and knew of. And I was impressed. And they went around the table and gave a 20-minute version of their own stories. And I sat there. And they're each one incredible. There's people in all sorts of walks of life and different strength and weaknesses, and giving these stories. And I went, it's going to get to me, like, right? But I had, 20 minutes, I had a couple of hours, so I got to me. And I sat there reflecting about my life, and I was under pressure. I had to write a 20-minute story in 2 hours, while also listening to other people and sort of in point form. And I got to me, and I was under such a tight constraint of coming up with what the important things in my life were, I often talk about this on the podcast, is the dots only make sense when we look back on them. The obstacles we've had to overcome only make sense to take us to where we are today when we look back at them. And that's what I was doing. I looked back and I went, okay, what are the important things that have happened to me, especially in my life as a young person getting to the NFL? And that's what the story was about. And I look back at the death of my brother and how that affected me, and how I had to sort of, either make a decision at that point that I'm just going to live in sadness and cry every day, or make that the reason why I achieve what I want to achieve. And so I look back at that moment, the Pineview Golf Course, and figuring out what it was that got me to there, and why I never gave up. And it was because I'd made that promise to my brother at that point. And I gave that story, and I told it from the heart, and people in the room were crying and clapping, and they stopped the meeting after that, and they were like, "Wow, let's get you into some schools." And then it was just a few weeks later that I started speaking, and it never ended. And it was written in that high pressure situation in that room, and if not for that, I'd still be wishing I had done it. You know what I mean? So I drive by the Pineview Golf Course every time, and I'm like, wow, that's something big has happened in that room to me. I know it's completely off topic, but
no, this is cool.
You brought up the Pineview Golf Course, and I think, wow, it's a guy, Mark Sluban, who now works for the Red Blacks, and he's the one who brought me in there and put me in that environment, and I'll forever be grateful because it's changed my life completely. I've been able to tell that story. It used to be I would talk about the death of my brother, and I would start to cry. I couldn't do it, and now I do it in rooms full of 200, 400, 600 people, and and it was when I was 15, right, that it happened. So a really hard time in your life anyways. And then this has happened. And then so, I mean, just in survival mode, I said, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to dedicate my life to achieving this dream. And I mean, I don't know if you know the exact story, but 10 years to the day after my brother passing away, I made the dream come true. And I signed a contract with the Miami Dolphins, October 30th, 1995. So 10 years to the day of him passing.
They can't see, but my hair is standing up on my arms right now because of that story. And yeah, it's amazing.
So
what you've done. It's crazy.
Thanks. I appreciate that. And I mean, so that's real to me. sorry. It's always emotional. Every time I tell the story, it's emotional.
I'm getting emotional here.
Is there things?
Goodness.
Not
because you have this disco light going on.
The
if
disco
you don't
light
know
is,
what's going on in this room, there's a disco light in here.
This is where the kids jam, man. This is the jam session. Bob Dylan. Is there things in your life that you can look back at and say, that's what's pointed me in this direction?
Yeah, there's just, there's always something that's in your mind. I tell you, when we won that night of the election, I knew my life was going to be completely different because we thought we had lost. We thought we were done. I was literally going to concede or go over and visit my opponent that I beat in 2010. And CF Ray called me up, and I'll never forget it. There's a video of embarrassing me screaming.
Seen it.
But that is exactly the stuff that, you're right, changes your life forever. You just know something's changed, and ever since then, I feel I'm a different person.
Mm-hmm. So it's, you thought you'd lost. I remember that. You were on the phone, right, giving an interview, like you said, and then that's stuck with me for as long as I've seen it. Right, that's like 7 years. That's a life-changing moment, for sure.
But I remember it every day. Like every day, I go to work and I don't forget that stuff. It's nothing compared to what you've gone through, but it's one of those things that it's if we're asking about life changers, that was the day.
That was the day.
Yeah.
Would you remember the date?
Yeah, it was October 26th, 2010. Yeah, it was a good day.
October 26th.
Yeah.
2010.
Yeah. Very. It was exciting.
Yeah. And it's taken you here to my my basement studio apartment, which isn't really a basement.
It's pretty cool down here, man.
It is cool.
This is like, have you tweeted out photos of this place? This is pretty. This is like this is the man room. This is cool. This is crazy.
This is when I'm not doing podcasts in here. The kids jam in here. They have drums and guitars, and like I said, that's their passion. And they do that nonstop, all day. And I let them, and it's great. And you know what else we do? And people probably judge me for this, but I take them downtown and they busk.
Do they really?
They do, yeah. They've done it. They want it. We're going to do it this afternoon. And
oh my God, I love this.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I just sit there with the greatest sense of pride watching them because, like, to do something like that's not easy, right? Like it's a huge. People are like, wow, they should be in summer camps or whatever. I'm like, this is the greatest learning experience of all time. They walked downtown, and the first time we did it, they were shy, and we were in a park, and nobody gave them money. And I said, okay, kids, what do we learn from this? And let's move it across the street to where people walk by. They came up with that idea. We moved across the street, and they're learning every 10 minutes. I can see them adjusting, making a difference, and now, they asked to do it. I don't definitely ask. One day we were at we were down by the War Memorial, not at the War Memorial, but near the War Memorial, and one of the guards came over, and I always sort of hover around like 100 feet away just to make sure they're safe and everything's cool. And one of the guards came up from the War Memorial, and they were worried. They thought they were doing something wrong. I'm like, God, you guys aren't doing anything wrong. You're playing music. People love it. Like, people would stand around, and they're pretty good. And that guard scared them, right? And the guard was there just to ask them what they're doing. Like, he was just curious, right? Because these two little kids playing music, and they weren't.
But you're giving them such a life skill, right?
That's what I think.
That's what it is. People that are nervous and quiet, let's call it for what it is, don't really advance up the chain too quickly. Mm-hmm. You're breaking them away from that. That is awesome.
Yeah, I love it. I love it too. And that's what our plan heading into the summer was, because normally they're in summer camps and stuff, and I'm driving them there, and then I don't see them all day, and then I go pick them up. How is it? We love it. But now, like, we hang out in the morning, and we make a plan, and they rehearse, and then they go downtown, and it's a great summer for me. I love doing it.
I'm just looking at your table here. You've had some other local celebrities in here
Dylan
too.
Black signed the table.
He's scratching up the table here.
No.
Dylan Black.
Good. Yeah.
One of the most handsome men that's on Rogers television.
And coming from a handsome man himself, that's very, very, very.
We got some great comedians here too, I see.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah, this is good.
Yeah, you're going to sign the table too. There's a pen right there for you to sign it.
Take care of that.
We just have a few minutes left here. I do want to know, you said 2022. You're thinking about running for the mayor. Is that true? Is that what you said?
Look, in 2018, I'm going to run for city council again. I've got a lot of people asking me to in the community, and we have a lot to still accomplish. Mm-hmm. Light rail stage 2 is coming along. It's new central library, and locally, I have quite a few little bucket list items that I still want to see done. Mm-hmm. But 2022, I'd have to look at my family for that one. But at this point, I've got the rubber stamp for my family in 2018.
2018 to be the city councillor
to
again.
run for city council. And I'll reevaluate when we get closer to 2022.
Yeah, it is a long way away for sure.
It is.
And so then your next goal is to win again, right? And is there anything you're doing that's different, or you just continue to be the same?
Look, I want people to make sure they know that I'm busting my butt out there, and we keep doing that, and I'm not going to stop. And a big part of the challenge on the job is getting wins at the table, and I think we've been very successful. So I'm running on a great record. And again, it's still early. I mean, you can't run until May 2018. But that's the point when we'll be out in the huskings again.
Yeah, and it's a happy place. What is social media has obviously played a huge role. Is it always 2010? Like since you've been a politician, 2010. Now, I think the world has changed dramatically, right?
Big time.
And so probably back then, you might not even have been on Facebook.
Yeah,
now,
I was on Facebook, but it was only Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Like Twitter was like, what? What's Twitter?
What is the social media? What do you do? What's your strategy?
The three major platforms. I still find that Facebook is probably the closest one to the community because you really have like the closest demographic to you, and I got a great base on there. Twitter, another big one, but again,
do you use
it's
that?
pretty. Oh yeah. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram are my three.
Yeah,
I'm on Snapchat, but maybe I'm too old. I don't know. I'm just
don't
trying
know
to get into the
anything
groove
about
on
Snapchat,
that thing.
I can't figure it out.
Putting mouse ears on me is not going to help me get the message out, man.
It would be so cute, though. So adorable. How often in the day do you post things? Is that a conscious thing?
Oh yeah, nonstop. Yeah.
So you just all day, every event, you post something.
Oh yeah.
Okay, because
we're gonna have to selfie. I got to tweet that.
Yeah.
Like
I didn't buy, but my kids wear these top hats.
Oh, I love it.
And they wanted us to take a picture wearing them.
Styling.
Throwback to Ottawa 18.
Little
whatever.
story about the mayor. He'll never wear a hat.
Why
You
is
can't
that?
get a hat on him.
Oh,
Hey, it's one of his things in his mind. He's like, oh no. So when we do events locally, he's like, Tim can wear the hat. Yeah, Tim will wear it. I have no problem. I'll do anything. I'm kind of ridiculous that way.
Yeah.
I just enjoy.
Maybe he's wearing a wig or something. He combs his hair just to hide the bald spots and doesn't want to mess it up.
Oh boy,
he's a great mayor, right?
He is very good. He does a tremendous job, and when you're herding 23 cats around the table, it's always you have to weigh out what's important and what's not. And I think he has his finger on the pulse of the city of Ottawa.
Yeah, he handles every situation perfectly, right? There's never a problem.
When you look around the mayors of Canada,
Yeah.
Back in 2014, oh my God, there were so many either going to jail or there was problems. And again, we're seeing it today. Thunder Bay, there's this investigation of their mayor. So, Jim wouldn't even run with scissors. That's how squeaky clean he is. So I think that bodes well for him. And he's running again in 2018. He's made that clear. And his election promises of keeping under 2% tax increases, I think, is a strong message in the city too. Fiscally responsible, but socially liberal, and that's kind of what people are looking for.
So I guess, you don't have any affiliation with a political party. Is that true for municipal politics?
That's correct. I can do whatever I want, and this is why I love it because I got friends on all sides. Whether I do have quite a few friends on the liberal side. I used to work there back in the day, but at the same time, I have many, many conservative friends as well, and that's the great opportunity I have municipally. I can do whatever I want.
That is a big difference for sure relative to
you actually write your own platform, right?
Yeah.
That's what I do every upcoming election. I look at what I can achieve realistically. I put those onto a list, and I'm my own maker.
That seems to work a little bit better than grouping people into a certain party.
They do that in Quebec. It's party-based municipally in Quebec.
Really?
Yeah, and it's painful, and we've seen what happens. And it's, I know there's a move in some municipalities to change that, but when you're tied to one party and you're towing the line altogether, it doesn't work the same, especially in a city like Ottawa, where we have certain needs that aren't the same needs of the West End or the South End. I like the way we do it.
I like municipal politics too because you're dealing with a smaller number, a manageable number of people, right? I mean, it's almost ridiculous when you look at presidents, prime ministers who have to make decisions based on a vast array of people, millions and millions of people, right? And who are all completely different. I mean, municipal politics is real. It's hands-on. You're there, and the decisions you make really do affect these people in the way that they want it to be, right? Like,
Absolutely. When I drive by and I live like right around the corner from the Sensplex, when I drive by and see something locally that we worked together as a community and we wanted and we got it done. I feel proud every time. Or it could be a road that I'm driving down where there was a sidewalk crack I got fixed. I love seeing that stuff. You feel like you're doing something. And that's the way my mind's always been, is I work in check boxes, and every time I check a box off, I feel really happy about it. But you're right, at a high level, you don't get to see all those check boxes. You're trying to set policy at a greater scale. It's different.
And you're managing the perception the whole time, right? You're just trying to play the part of...
It's a spin game.
Whatever, So what are we have the Sensplex, Dog Park. Those are just a few of the
road
things you're proud of.
resurfacing.
Roads,
I'm working, very closely on Pineview Community Room. That's coming down the pipe, and I think that's going to be...
So, the next check boxes are that.
Yeah.
And anything, I mean, we have 1 year. 1 year till you to run again.
By May 2018, that's when people have to make the decision, and they have a while to decide in 2018 if they're going to run again. And that's when the rubber hits the road. But I'm feeling confident. I'm evaluating the community again, seeing where the needs are. I've already identified a couple of things that I'll be putting in my next campaign platform.
It's the lighthouse, isn't it? Put a new lighthouse in?
The Mark Hatfield Lighthouse, everybody. It's going to be right in the Ottawa River.
Because there's definitely a hill here, right? This is a big hill. We're at the bottom of the hill right now, and it's a hill. I would have thought the lighthouse would be at the top of the hill.
No, it wasn't. It was right in the river. I'm going to send you the link. You're going to be mind blown. This is a true story, kids. I actually asked permission from Andrew King, because he did this awesome illustration of the lighthouse, if I could get it tattooed on me.
You should.
And so I'm thinking about it. My wife is kind of like, no, you already got a tattoo. So, and it's just a shamrock, no biggie.
I got some tattoos.
Yeah, you got great ink.
Yeah.
I wish I could do that.
You should. Why not?
Everyone's doing it, I know, but
it's art.
I like keeping my tattoos to myself. People on the beach that see me in my Speedo, they can see my tattoos, but that's about
They can see your shamrock.
That's right.
Awesome, man. That's been 1 hour. I really appreciate this. We'll have you back in another time. I know
the time flew. That was crazy.
It is crazy how an interesting person can last an hour, for sure. I mean, it's...
Politicians never shut up. That's the problem.
I just turn the microphone. Actually, the microphone was off the whole time.
Let's do it again.
He's talking. Yeah, thank you very much, man. That was great. We'll take some pictures, and that was great.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, we'll take some pictures. Welcome back. Right on. That's awesome. Hope you enjoyed that. We learned a lot from Tim. Like I said, very passionate. We learned a lot about taking risks to do the things you're passionate about, and the importance of giving back to the community. Speaking of giving back to the community, next week on the podcast, Stuntman Stew. Till then, stay cool.